The skin of ourselves is the first to be seen in life. Our bodies are seen every day and by every eye. So why wouldn't you want to present yourself as you wish to be seen? From your presentation within society, gender roles, being a walking art medium, or even just the simple desire of being attractive. A culture of self-expression. Tattoos, articles of clothing, piercings, jewelry. All of these an option for the everyday individual. Streets of craftsmen with the thriving company of their own kin and community. People relish in the options for self-expression. Dresses with wind chimes built into the ends. Tattoos adorning their skin with the potential to carry magical energies. And jewelry of many metals, stones, and crystals. Outsiders see this community as rich, able to afford the valuable wares and gold-lined articles. But contrary to many places, this is a place of trade. Valuables of sentimental or material worth exchanged from hand to hand, stories told through lived moments of life and death. Fairly secluded in their region of the world, a gem in the sand of a place most would seek to visit and reside, living life free of scrutiny from those ignorant and those selfish. The hot sands of the desert deter those with feeble will, but those with a will of iron have made their way, searching for this paradise, risking their lives for a chance just to enter. However, this place is well guarded and kept. Only some few are allowed to enter, and fewer still allowed to partake of their customs and culture. Keeping their culture to themselves has been both earning of respect and of hate, but it really depends on who you ask. Their culture is everything to them. Their way of life is serene, and they want to avoid disruptions to this life as much as they possibly can. Some have tried to force their way into this place, sneaking in or even trying to brute force their way in. But they are met with an unexpected amount of resistance. Each person willing to protect their sanctuary, their family. Wearing the finest clothes does not mean they have no strength, and they are very willing to prove that to you. A tale long passed down, spoken to their young like a fairy tale of what they have accomplished, tells a story of those selfish. Travelers, seeking a place for comfort and recovery during their long, arduous trek through the scorching desert. At least, that is what they claimed. They were invited in, provided fresh water that felt more nourishing than they had ever tasted, given fruit so sweet that they craved its nectar. The travelers let greed into their hearts, their minds corrupted with what they could have, with what they could take. They were allowed to stay the night, given a secluded ground to call their temporary home. But during the cold night, they acted on their corruption. They followed a long, winding path into the heart of this place, and their eyes were unable to look away from the treasures that lined the streets, that lined the homes. They couldn't believe how much was here. With a haul like this, the return home would be met with bountiful riches. They could sell off their haul, and it would set them free of all work, labor, and effort. However, with their attention captured, their minds filled with what they could become, it was far too late for them to react. A stream of blood circuited along the ground, like oil tracing the cracks of a stone path, and within seconds they had been captured. The blood on the ground had bloomed into shards of glass, using the sand to completely incapacitate these fools. They had been given trust and respect, and they gave their lives for their betrayal. The only traveler who hadn't immediately been taken care of. He couldn't believe his eyes. The blessings of the Crimson Angel reached this far? There was no church around here. How could they possess such grace? But his disbelief did not last long. His eyes fell heavy, and he too was put to rest. This story is reserved until the young of this culture reach maturity, giving them an idea of the strength of their community. Here, you are safe, and you will be taken care of, because every single person here is treated like a family. But if you do earn your place, respecting their ways and take the time to understand their culture, then you may be rewarded as kin, and you will find no greater loyalty, no greater family, no greater home. It's almost like a massive gathering of friends and relatives, all devoted to living a fulfilling and enjoyable life. Okay, so in total honesty, when I first started making these sketches, I was just kind of like getting some practice in with fabrics and clothing overall. I was just kind of experimenting. But shortly into doing the drawings, I realized that I could just use this as an opportunity to make some ideas for the Redcaster setting. There was some days where I struggled to keep up making concepts, but honestly for the majority of it, I was having a blast. It was really fun looking at all the ideas that I had saved on Pinterest. I did way too many ideas saved on Pinterest, and getting to mess with them, it was really fun. Also, quick side note, every time you see me make a bunch of lines and swirls, that's me warming up my drawing arm for the day. So every time you see that, it's like a new day. I was working on it. I have yet to talk about a lot of the darker aspects of this setting, so I really wanted to take this opportunity to talk at least a bit more about an uplifting area of the world building, just so it's not all doom and gloom. This community of people is hidden away within the sands of like a really vast desert. I'm kind of stealing some ideas from a D&D campaign I'd run. So this desert is like rich with gemstones and minerals, and the other aspect I'm taking from that is like the family, like community kind of aspect. That's also another thing about this community is like if you try to enter and denied, like you're still in a massive desert, so you're just gonna have to make your way through the scorching heat or the shivering cold. So it's you don't really just want to show up and just be like, hey, can I come in? I think I'll want to make some sort of way that these people gather like the threads, materials, and stuff to craft like their fine clothes and silks. I haven't really thought too much about that yet. I have some friends who like have made some of their own ideas for like some of their campaigns or world building ideas, but that'll just have to be a topic for another video. I definitely want to make this like a self-supporting kind of community, at least for the most part. Maybe some imports and exports here and there, but like those would be really like special cases. Most of my drawings was spent on like fabrics, but there's still plenty of like tattoos, jewelry, and also just like some character concept ideas that I think I'd really want to explore to like kind of represent like what either both your average and like a higher up member of this community would look like. Most of the clothes are very flowy and kind of revealing because I figured that they'd want to show off the plentiful tattoos, ornaments, and like jewelry and all the things that they like to adorn themselves with. Sadly, I haven't even thought up a name for the area or even like the community itself. Names are typically pretty hard for me unless it's like for like a specific character, because then I can like make a name based on the character's like attributes and abilities and whatnot. But I'll get to it at some point. I have had the thought of making some languages for this setting, which I don't really know how I'll make that into an art video. Maybe I could do like drawings of like runes and or like scrolls or books or something, but I don't know how I'd go about that. But I think it would still be some really fun like world building ideas that I could get into there. I remember making some terrible languages when I was in like middle school, I think. It's like when I first got into games like Dungeons and Dragons, and I had a lot of difficult aspirations. Honestly, I think that's all about I have to say for this video. So I hope you like the concept art and ideas. If you have any ideas, critiques, anything you want to say, I'm always open to hear them. Because I'm definitely not perfect, and making coherent ideas half the time, even half the time, is difficult. If you just want to say something you liked, or I mean, hey, you can say something you didn't like. I don't really care. Any ideas you have, if you want to share them, that's cool. Those are all welcome. I love y'all. So I'll see you next time.